How you doing? I'm Tom Nyback. It's 365 days toward racial change. This is day 363, and I had to tighten up my notes a little bit there. And we're moving right along. Today is Education Reform Part 2. Get to that. Um, how's it going? You've been watching a lot of videos. Thank you. And um, has there been any transformation, any change, any has your life moved, been impacted? Did you learn anything new from all this? I've gotten an education, uh, understand some things, and it's interesting. Now I can look at um, television now and historical context. When I can see some of the plans and devices of um, elements of America that keep black people frozen in this kind of limbo, right? We're in the midst of this virus, and I see how, um, this country is just under layers and layers and layers of all these little um, mechanisms of resistance in the country, right? We were just seemed like we were just having a peaceful time and just coming together, get a grip. Uh, you know, I don't know about you. Sometimes I feel like I'm just getting my head above water, getting a grip, and I'll see a black man murdered by white folks. We got a disease, a virus now that has caused layers, right? And it's challenging, because we want to wear masks, but early on in this mask issue and debate, um, store owners were barring black people from entering because they were rightfully wearing their masks. Um, Very sad. And I'm coming up on the 365 here, but sadly, like there's so much more um, that we could get to. We I didn't go into the big issue on women. A female's gonna have to come and take up that project and work on that piece. Probably she'll have more colors and it'll be probably more dynamic. I'll work on that. But black females, if they haven't already, I've not looked. We'll have to do that. Whatever group you're with, you know, you're going to find if you're not a white heterosexual male, then you probably got a beef with this country and could easily put together 365 videos on, you know, feeling challenged, unnecessarily challenged in America's system, right? So we could just got to be real. That's what it is, and we don't have to beat around the bush and work on feelings. We got to be honest. You may have heard me talk about uh, my relationship with ER. I like that show. I follow right along. Any type of kind of show that is a drama and goes intense, I follow right along. I get the same with one when I watch The West Wing too. I get the jokes and I get how complicated the characters are as they're trying to navigate. I don't know, reattaching a limb. All right, you know, they're immersed in that environment. Well, you know that with ER, You can't be in denial uh, about your internal injuries. You're going to die. You can't be um, so sensitive. You got to be intubated and cracked open to get foreign objects and you know work you know work that thing so you can bring some healing. That's another problem in America. Got so many people saying that they are not on the side of evil, that they are not prejudiced, that racism has no part. Um, Yet it's racism is so much a part that people don't realize that they are living and responding and being informed from that the position of racism, that that ideology, that mindset is their very foundation. But um, it's such a part of the system and of some people that they don't even know that they are living in that way. Um, it's hard to teach that. It's got you got to make it stick and make it real for an individual practicing racism. It has to be kind of their own idea, their own realization that it has happened. Uh, let's get into it because I went into a big thing. I'm going to finish this series today, and I'm kind of ready to go on, get on to some other things. Some things are starting to press and whatnot. But anyway, someday I'll write a book, and you'll see the timeline and the things that went on as I was going through this project. We are informed about so much of this stuff by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. He's written a bunch of books, and we use his material to inform us. First book that I read was A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Excellent piece of work. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice. And he's got some great charts here, some timelines, truths that just blew my mind. And Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, PowerNomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at PowerNomics.com, here on YouTube. He's got a whole lot of good stuff to tell us. Behind me, you see the hashtag #US2 symbol. Find Black women having their support, community, and all that. Sharing resources, hopefully. I don't visit there much. Uh, I'm due. Oh, if you've got an entrepreneurial mind, go see Dr. Boyce Watkins at the Black Business School, theblackbusinessschool.com, and he'll help you out there. Check out Tyrone Gregory. He's a self-employed tax guy. He'll have some resources for you as well. And also we have story time. We're finished with this book, but if you want to understand, if you were just flipping through YouTube searches and then see who was uh, geeked out enough to do a year's worth of videos. Yeah, and this is your first one, then you have to know we've been through this entire text. You can easily type in the search and you'll find that I have commented on this. I didn't read it. We just commented all the way through the book. And that's here at Racial Change. If you can't find your flavor, your voice here on the World Wide Web, I pray just do what I did. Start your own. Resist life's gravity to get you off of this project and make a commitment and watch what it does to your character. You'll become an expert on whatever it is you're talking about, and you'll feel good about yourself. I guarantee it. Education reform part two. Remember, Dr. Anderson, he's not talking about our ABCs, one, two, threes, and how to um, get knowledge into the minds, academic knowledge into the mind. Although there's something to be said, I struggle uh, coming at it from a different angle. The kids, when I'm in college and stuff, uh, I can't tell you how many times I come to class unprepared because of, oh, there's a certain relationship you have to have with the material and a mindset, and you have to be such a detective in your own education and experience. And I lack that. And so oftentimes I come to class and I'm not academically prepared. And it's like every single body, it's a scary feeling. And it's very disorienting when I come into this college class and I'm like, I feel like the day before I've really prepared myself for the class. And the instructor will say, okay, let's talk about such and such. Everybody in the class has read the material, their notebooks crack open, they're ready to go. And I'm like, what time zone? You know, I'm starting to look for my Rick. Am I in the right dimension? You got to watch Rick and Morty to understand some of that joke. But that's how I feel. It's like, oh, I am not in the right space. And I think to a degree, there's another mechanism of racism, right? Where, my kids, the younger people, mostly white, are just in a they have a different relationship with resources than I do. And that's, that's something to think about when we think about education reform. But Dr. Anderson, he's not even talking about that either. Closest relationship to that is he's talking about black kids coming together as a community, learning early about ethno-aggregation, vertical integration. It doesn't have, you don't have to wait till you have a business to practice keeping resources within your own ethnic group and vertically integrating your business to control raw materials, processing, finished product to sales, things like that. And it can happen just communally to who you want to hang out with, who you want to hold accountable, um, keeping each other away from drugs, guns, and stuff like that. I don't want to sound like some kind of value freak, but the pitfalls that exist in the world to trap and strap black people look a whole lot different for black people than white folks. They're so much more prevalent and conveniently laid in. And, it's like a show. I don't see it. I don't know if it's because of the cable. I get a show called Bait Car. And I would hate that show. I wish I had a wrote in or got a petition going because the law enforcement would put a car in the neighborhood, park it right, and driver. It's all law enforcement. It's all videotaped and whatnot. Leave a door open, leave the keys in it, and walk away, right? And invariably, someone, some black kids, with their curiosity, maybe a criminal mindset, I don't know, would get in the car and drive off with it. You know, then after a little while, law enforcement would shut the car down, lock it up, and trap them, and you know, make it some big legal thing. I was like, I can't believe that people, well, actually would fall for it, but that our white law enforcement would put that kind of situation in a black community. I mean, I'm talking the deep hood liquor corner store, trash all around. They just put these cars out there to um, for people to get into. You know, they ain't do that in white neighborhoods, gated communities, right? It's so unfair. Like the stresses that go on with black people, and now you want to put cars and opportunities. They make it look easy for a black person to start their criminal history. Like you ain't got enough to do except put bait cars in the hood. That really makes me sick. I hope that show is off the air. It's probably not though. Because your white law enforcement is too evil, and the black people that get caught up in that are too stupid. So it's probably still running, but it's not right. It's not right. The education reform that Dr. Anderson's promoting here is to get the community started early as possible to adhere to some accountability, sharing resources, have some leadership, some vision to say, we want more. Even if they're born in the hood, if the parents aren't around, whatever situation they're in, they could still desire to be better, want more than what's going on around them. Here's what Dr. Anderson says. He's critical about this because of this Anglo-Saxon approach to life, which is very individualistic, right? He says teaching children to live as individuals is a philosophical design that works best for white children. And I've said it many times, you've got children, the same classroom, teacher, same curriculum, white kid, black kid, but they're getting the same information, but they're having totally different experiences. When they leave the classroom, it's a whole different mindset. It's a whole, like I said at the top about not being prepared for class. Well, because the young white kids in my class have a different relationship with the resources that's available to be successful in the course. I I don't have that same um, relationship because I'm having a different experience. Color of skin is definitely a portion of why that experience is successful or not, right? Uh, but being the individual, being, running around like that, it works different for white kids because that is the culture that they're coming from that supports that, right? It works when uh, black children are people that aren't welcomed in the system or that are guests in the American system. Dr. Anderson, he says, black people are guests here. We're not full, the guest, you want the guest to, visit once in a while and then go off somewhere. But a guest isn't someone that stays and enjoys all of the mainstream resources and things going on in the world. That's not what a guest does. A guest visits and then leaves the space. That's who black people are in the land, which is why an individualistic approach to life is just not going to work. It wasn't until I was over 50 years old I said, why am I doing? I'm doing the same thing that white person is doing. Of course, I didn't put a color angle on it even at that time. Why is my efforts and energy that I'm employing not working? Well, number one, I'm alone. I don't have a posse. Some of these you got to kind of give some credit to some of our athletes, some of the black entertainment folks. They have posses, right? They have a collective, a group, a community going on. Most people don't really roll like that. Uh, so I'm alone. I'm ignorant of the way the system is working anyway. So it's very problematic. But that works well for white folks because that the system accommodates that. Created by European whites for European whites, sustained by European whites. That's boy, what a great combination if you're in that group. We looked at Uncle Tom's Cabin and the character St. Clair. He lives that truth. Harriet Beecher Stowe illustrates him perfectly. He's glad he was born white. He knows he has privilege and he moves well within the system as an individual. He doesn't need a whole bunch of support because the system is that community. Maybe I disagree with Dr. Anderson a little bit here about the white folks being individualistic. Um, they're not really individualistic because the whole system is a a white support mechanism. If I'm holding a glass of milk in my hand and I take a drop of milk and put it in the milk, it's all milk. It's all supported, right? There's no change. It's all supportive. The whole environment is conducive to white milk, right? But when I get my, if I want chocolate milk, then when I put an additive in the white milk, everything changes. There's upheaval, disruption. There's shifts. Things have shifted now that I put anything other than milk inside milk. All right, you see how that would work in America in um, a system where whiteness is the the foundation, the walls, the atmosphere, the environment. When you inject that same whiteness, you don't get. There's not a big shift or upheaval or everything. So that individual, yeah, is going to come in the system, and you know things are going to be beautiful for that individual. It doesn't work for other groups because when you inject black, brown into this white arena, then you got to shift and things get tainted, or I shouldn't use it tainted pejoratively. Things get colored. Let's put it that way. And that blackness, brownness, loses its potencies as it mixes in there, right? Not advocating a strict segregationist agenda, but gotta be realistic about what's working and what's not. The education reform is for black children to kind of get it together, um, and work to support each other within the white environment, right? When we go out into space, right, we don't inject ourselves into space without a whole lot of support around us. We've got a capsule, we got seats, we bring oxygen, food, right? Then we can be successful in that environment, that whole new environment. space, the moon, uh, orbiting the Earth, right? It takes a lot of energy. We got to take some energy with us. Um, so the white folks, they might not see it as teaching an individualistic approach to living in America. They're just living because they are integrated into the system perfectly. You need to make very few adjustments if your skin color is white. When black people come in, um, feel like they're doing the same thing, exerting the same energies, but because they're engaging this white atmosphere, it's a whole different ballpark. That individualistic approach doesn't work. Um, and then it doesn't work. You got to think, we've talked about meritorious manumission, where that makes a black person, a real individual, because now you've injected um, a lot of suspicion and skepticism within the black community, and nobody wants to hang with somebody they don't trust. Real quick primer on meritorious manumission. If you're new, meritorious manumission was extended to slaves. It was a way a slave could be free, but it was just a tease. It was a carrot that the white slave masters would wave in front of the slave. Slave could get this manumission, this freedom, if they saved white life, put a white person's life ahead of their own, like kind of a hero, increased production, made money, made it profitable for white business, or streamline a process or whatever. And the big one is to inform on other slaves whether they're going to revolt or try to run away. Those are three big pillars on which meritorious manumission rests. But what it was a device used to keep black people separate individuals. They didn't want them cooperating, coordinating with one another because it's possible they could revolt. And there were a few little uprisings and stuff back then. But it just doesn't work for black folks. An interesting thing came out. This is page 102 of PowerNomics, where Dr. Anderson notes that, when integration, Brown v. Board of Education, integration came out, and it was a big topic. Blacks were really the only group trying to integrate. He notes the Jewish folks weren't trying to integrate. And then I said, okay, let's do a little fact checking on Dr. Anderson. And I went on just Wikipedia real quick, nothing in depth. But Jewish folks have been educating themselves since the early 1900s. They were never really interested in integrating with white folks. And, we reflect on the Jewish experience a lot because there's a lot of parallels, but some of the differences are notable in that the Jewish people didn't run over here, come out of the Holocaust, and some of their recent tragedies, relatively, running into white European life. They are sticklers about their community first and seeing that success, maintaining their God, and all this great stuff, right? And something us black folks really need to learn. Hispanics, they keep their language, and they're out. Um, we're into our warmer months. Man, to hell with the virus. I bet you they are congregating, right? And other groups, us black folks, we we are we fall for this lie that being an individual, for whatever reason, wherever it comes from, I trace it back to slavery, meritorious manumission, things like that. Um, but it's a condition that leaves us vulnerable, alone, you know, not connected to resources and whatnot. Black folks really have to learn some of that stuff, come together, stay together. But, this is an opportunity to teach kids that ethno aggregation, vertical integration, things that can early on become disciplines to help our black kids hold on and come together, learn how to come together, and be careful. If you're black and you don't understand what I'm talking about, then please go find some help. Don't try to portray and to be what is just not possible for um, for promoting this kind of thinking, this kind of thought. You know, there's I'm saying this because there's just a lot of black people who are not equipped to put these ideas into the field. That's in a whole nother topic, and we kind of ran out of time. Oh, phew. I'm Thomas Nyback. That's day 363 out of the way. 365 days towards racial change. We're on a countdown. Come back and see us next time. I'm not sure what we got left. We only got two more left. Come back and see what we got going on. See you soon. Bye bye.